Okay, so I'm processing some narrow leaf yucca to use to make rope. You can do this out in the woods, but I'm going to go ahead and do it here in the kitchen counter. What I've done is I've boiled that yucca piece for about 30 minutes and let it soak in the water. That softens it up quite a bit. Normally pretty rigid and hard to work with, but you still can do it. What you would do is you would lay it over a log, and then you would take your knife, you would push it against it. Sorry, hard to get this in here. I'm just going to lay the back side of my knife on this and just pull. And you can see it's coming apart in those fibers. That's a bad angle for me. I'm going to back up here. So you can see it's pulling off all that flesh, all the meaty part of that. You don't really need that meaty part. What you want is these fibers. You see those fibers? I'm going to keep working this. And you can see how those fibers come apart. And you'll just be left with, well, you'll get rid of that meat, the flesh part of the plant. Okay, usually what I do, well, for working in the kitchen here, you can see it better, but I'll take the back side of my knife and flip it over, and I'll just kind of crush this. And work out those fibers. You'll have to hold it with one hand on one side and use this knife, otherwise you'll pull it apart. You're just going to work this out a little bit. That's it. Now, like I said, obviously, you know, I'm doing it in the kitchen. You can do this outside. You could find a flat log or piece of wood or something to work this on, and then you would just continue to crush it. Best to do is to let these soak for a while. Boil them is even better, but if you just let them sit in water and soak, it'll break down. But you can see I'm left with all those hairs or fibers. That's what you want. Just break it down to those fibers. And while I'm working the rest of them, I'm just going to take these that I've worked and put them back in the pot of water. You could also take 2 river rocks and crush this up between 2 river rocks. You know, you can bang on it like this with your river rocks if you don't have water, but you got to be careful because you don't want to cut this cord this way or those fibers this way. You need those fibers intact as much as possible lengthwise. If you bang on them too much with a rock, you're going to break those fibers down the wrong way, and then it's going to be pretty much useless. So you want these as long as you possibly can. The more you work this, the easier it is going to be when you try to twist your rope into place or make your rope out of this. So you just want those fibers. And let's see, those are pretty strong. You know, just that right there, just that little piece. But you can make this rope as long as you want. I'm going to use this to make cord for a Paiute deadfall. So my next video will be a focus on how to make the Paiute deadfall. I'm just doing this to prep for that. So I'll take it out here so you can look at it. That's what I've done so far. I'll have to straighten these out. Now I've got that much more to work till I'm done here. Now that will make quite a bit of rope. I won't even use nearly as much of this for the small length of rope that I need for a Paiute deadfall. You know, just need a foot or so. So this will make a lot more. But that's it. That's the basics of breaking down your narrow leaf yucca so you can make a rope out of it. Another quick note, if you're doing this out in the field or anywhere else, you might be tempted to take your yucca and put it over the top of your knife put your thumb over it and pull it along like this. Don't do that, because these fibers are strong enough that they'll go right into your fingers, your flesh, just like a thorn. So that little fiber that breaks down, those little fibrous pieces like that, when they're not wet, it's just like a thorn. So don't use your thumb. Don't do that. You're not going to be a happy camper. Just use, some sort of surface, put your knife over it, and then draw it across just like that. Alrighty, so here's all the yucca after I processed it. You can see all those little fibers. This is probably about, I don't know, 15 or so leaves from the narrow leaf yucca. I put it back in the pot when I was done processing it, and so it collected or absorbed a bunch of water. You don't want these things to be sopping wet when you're making your cordage. So I took it out and I wrung it out and dried it off a little bit. You probably want to let it sit out for about an hour to dry out. You don't, like I said, you don't want it sopping wet, but you don't want it crispy, so you don't want it baking in the sun all day long. Just give it a little bit of time to dry, so it's malleable, so you can twist it and turn it. But I'm going to try to do this from my view. So if this is the strands, I'm going to make this into a rope. What I'm going to do is, see, got it here. I'm going to take it in the center. I'm going to spin it. My hands are a little wet, so it's going to turn. So I'm going to spin it here until it kind of twists back on itself. So you can see I got a loop. I'm going to take this, I'm going to grab that loop. Now I've got a top piece and a bottom piece. I take that top piece and I'm going to roll it this way. I'm going to roll it away from me until it tightens up. And you see that's kind of tight. I'm going to grab this bottom piece here and I'm going to turn it back up towards me. And I'm going to move my finger up, pinch it. Now that bottom piece is now the top piece. I'm going to spin this till it tightens up, usually 2 or 3 turns. Depends on how wet this stuff is. Now grab the bottom piece with this finger and I'm going to pull it back towards me. With yucca being so rigid, you really have to kind of keep this tight in here, but once you get going it'll be a little easier. Those first few rolls are tough, but I'm just going to go on here. Camera's right in my way, so this is a little bit difficult for me. I just wanted to see, so you can see what it looks like from my angle rather than looking at me head on, because it's hard to understand what somebody's doing when you're on the opposite side. I'm rolling this more than twice because it is wet still, so it's springing back on me. But you can see I'm starting to get cordage, a little bit of rope out of it. You can see I'm starting to near the end here. I'm going to go a little bit further. And you're probably like, well, how the heck am I going to make that longer? Just give me a second here. Okay. So that's about, I'll leave about that much. This side's a little bit longer than that side. I'm going to set this down for now and I'm going to pull out some more. Just enough to make it about the same width. Same diameter, I guess. Okay, so I got my new section. I'm going to flip one of these over so they're kind of in the same. It's not skinny on one end and fat on the other. Okay, so I'm going to pick this back up where I left off. Holding the other piece in my mouth right now. Okay, so I got this piece just like I did before. This side's shorter. I'm just going to take this, you see this other piece, I'm going to grab it sort of in the center, and all I'm going to do is lay it over there. Just lay it in there. So now it's just folded over, nothing special about it. And then I'm going to continue on. It'll be a little bit thicker at this point, but it'll narrow out again once I get beyond that one little section. The more uniform you can make this, the stronger it will be. It's kind of hard on your hands. And there is other ways to braid rope and to do this whole process. But this is how I do it. And I'm not saying my way is right or wrong, and I'm not saying anybody else's way is right or wrong. This is just how I do it. So you find a way that works for you, that works as far as strength goes, and you do it that way. Everybody learns different, everybody does things different, so do what's working for you. Now this is where the end of that one piece goes. You see how it comes off? That's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt anything. So you know I got that much rope. It's what, probably about 5 inches. Really, you know, it's like kind of time consuming. You'll get faster with it as you go. It doesn't help with me having this camera in my way. Makes it really uncomfortable. I want you to see what I'm doing here. Okay, again I'm to an end point where I just got a little bit left. You can see this side is a lot longer than this side. I'm just gonna put this in my mouth for now. And grab the next section. So you can see this side is fatter than this side that's the end. So I'm just going to grab these to make it stronger and split it in half. And flip this one over, and I'm going to put some of the narrow end up near the thick end. That's going to keep it kind of one consistency, one length. Okay. So now back here to where I was before. Just going to take this, I'm going to fold it in there. Just like that, and then again continue on. These splice points sometimes are not going to be pretty, but as long as you give yourself several inches from where you spliced it in at, it's going to be just as strong. This is wetter than I would normally do it, but I wanted to get you see how I'm doing this, and I'm impatient. I don't like waiting around. The problem with it making the cordage wet or overly wet is when it does dry, it's going to shrink up a little bit and it's going to not look as nice, and it might lose some of its strength. Okay, so you can see there's that much rope. Probably need twice that much, not even twice that much, but whatever. I'm going to make twice that much so I can use it on my Paiute deadfall that I'm going to make out of this. Same process over and over. Twist, twist, twist back. Twist forward, twist forward, twist back. Twist forward, twist forward, twist back. Okay, so again, I'm near the end. So I'm going to grab the next section and continue on. But I think you got the idea, so I'm going to stop here and I'll show you here in a minute what the finished product looks like. Alrighty, so there's the cordage. I probably made, I don't know, a few feet. Way more than I'm going to need. You can see spots where the splice ends were, you know, to this little hair sticking out. No big deal. Just to show you that it can hold some weight. I got it tied to a 30-pound weight. And you can see that's the Yucca. I'm going to try and lift it up here without it swinging out and dropping on my toes. So there it is. see, fairly strong. Hey, it's me. Probably sick of looking at my hands, but welcome to my kitchen. So here's the rope that I just made. You saw it lift up that 30-pound weight. I'm going to pull on it here with all my strength, and hopefully it won't break. As you can see, that's pretty strong. So that's going to be strong enough to hold up anything you need. You can use it for your shelters, use it for snowshoes, you can use it for traps. You probably even use it for a bowstring, but with a stress from a bowstring, it would probably eventually snap. There's some narrow leaf yucca cordage for you. Pretty strong stuff.